How you doing, buddy?
Marcus DeAngelo here with OneTrueSport.com. We are at the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, and I'm joined with wrestling legend Tito Santana. And Tito, how did it feel to be inducted last night?
It was a very, very special occasion for me. It was quite an honor to be inducted into the Luthez Hall of Fame. I mean, he's an icon in our business, you know, and it was a good feeling. And I had a great reception, you know, from the fans last night.
You had an excellent speech as well. I thought it kind of stole the show. Some of the stories that you were able to tell and the experiences being a teacher. When exactly did you start as a teacher?
Well, I retired from the WWF in 1993, and me and Sergeant Slaughter tried to start a league. We started the AWF, and it didn't work out. And my wife, I already had my degree. I graduated in '75 when I was playing football at West Texas State, so I already had my degree. So my wife kept saying, "Why don't you teach? Why don't you try teaching?" And finally, I took her up on it. I started out as a sub, and I told some sub stories last night that were very interesting, learning curves. Yeah, you know, I ended up doing it for 26 years, and probably the best thing I ever did, you know, get my teaching degree and get into teaching.
You know, it seems like a lot of people, it's once the wrestling career stops, you know, they tend to struggle, but you're one of the rare exceptions that you came out of it and you had a nice career to follow things up.
Yeah, it was very nice. I mean, I do, up until now,
I had my mic on in the bathroom.
I don't have to be out on the road. Some of my friends still making their living totally on these appearances, you know, and you know, I enjoy going out on the road a couple times a month. Some of these guys are still out on the road. Look what happened to me yesterday with the airlines. You know, it's not easy being on the road. You know, you have all kinds of struggles that you have to deal with, weather, airport delays. You know, and it's nice not to have to do this. I do it because I enjoy it, and you know, I also love seeing the boys and, you know, catching up and some stuff.
Absolutely. Now, when you were teaching, because you recently retired, correct?
I retired from teaching last June.
Okay, congratulations. Were you still making indie shots early on, back when you started in like the 90s or early 2000s?
Yeah, you know what was funny is everybody thought we were all making a ton of money. There at the end, if you weren't involved, you know, in storylines with the WWF, you know, after all the expenses, we were just surviving. And then when I stopped, you know, finally I gave my notice. I didn't know what I was going to do. I broke down in the car by myself, you know, worried about what I was going to do to support my family. And I asked the Lord to help me out and do with me as He pleased. And you know, everything has worked out great. And then I discovered the independent market. I had to work Friday, Saturday, and Sundays if I wanted to. Mm-hmm. And I was making more on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays than I was making all week being on the road with the WWF 7 days a week. And I said, man, why didn't I start this earlier?
That's incredible. And look, I know you've got a limited time today, so I won't take up too much time. But before I let you go, you did mention West Texas State. I do a podcast for One True Sport Network called Everybody's Got a Pod with Ted DiBiase, and he talks about you all the time, and certainly the memories of West Texas State. What do you remember about being around a young offensive lineman, Ted DiBiase, there?
Well, from what I remember, Ted DiBiase, from what I understand, had 2 left legs. You know, the coaches used to accuse him of not being too fast off the line. You know, he got moved to defense because he wasn't a good offensive player. But you know, I knew of Ted DiBiase. I knew of Tully Blanchard. You know, when I was playing sports, I personally was not a wrestling fan. I never watched wrestling growing up, but I knew of professional wrestling. Tully Blanchard, we were there in Canyon, took me to Amarillo the Funks owned the territory at the time, and they started talking to me about getting into the wrestling business. And you know, I was a football player. I wasn't interested, and they took me into the locker room, and I saw all those the heels, we used to call them, in the locker room, and I said, man, these guys look like they could eat you up and spit you out. And you know, there was a little bit of a fear, you know, in me. I said, you know, Tully keeps talking to me about getting into this business, and I didn't know that, you know, wrestling was never choreographed, but I after a while I figured out that they were not there trying to kill each other either. And I said to myself, these guys know that I don't know anything about wrestling, and they keep telling me that I could have a good wrestling career. So I wasn't dumb, you know. I put it together. I did know that I was a better athlete, I thought, than a lot of these guys that I was looking at, you know, because back then you didn't necessarily have the bodybuilders. You had guys that were overweight and, you know, could go in the ring for an hour, you know, and I just couldn't believe how, you know, how big they were and the endurance that they had in the ring. I mean, it was an experience to finally get into the business and find out the athletic ability that most of these wrestlers had. I remember the big guy in New York, he ended up getting over like $1 million. He used to, what was his name? Oh God. Had the long hair, he passed away. He was over like $1 million there.
Big John Studd?
No, it wasn't long black hair, short.
Short guy with long black hair.
Tall guy with the like black hair.
Oh, I got
Black hair.
nothing else
There was
to
a
do.
there was a couple guys. I don't remember who they were.
Because I remember him, you know, was getting beat on TV, and he'd come out and lie. Undefeated, and then they finally made him a baby face, and he got over like, you know, Blackwell. Jerry Blackwell.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, Jerry Blackwell.
unbelievable in the
I
ring.
mean, that guy, talk about heavy, and his ability in the ring was, you know, unbelievable. You know, it was amazing to see, and to see how big he got over.
I wrestled him in Rockford, Illinois, and like you know, this big fat guy. So it was the summertime, and it was in the gym, and they had the fluorescent lights on, and it had to be 120 degrees in there. So in the locker room, I'm going, this guy, I'll be back under 10 minutes. He had me in the rings for 45 minutes. I couldn't breathe. I thought I was going to die. He'd lay that weight on you, get you in the ropes and lay on you, and you just
Kind of like Bob Winkle.
yeah. So I know what you're talking about, but he was so spectacular for a guy his size. He could move like a cat.
I mean, the way you guys slid him in there. At the time, he was one of the biggest baby faces in the territory.
Yeah.
I mean, he was drawing money like crazy, and a good guy. On
Oh, he
top
was a
of
good
that.
guy. Yeah, he was.
He was also part of that Wrestle Rock Rumble thing you guys did, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he like crushed a big board or something on there.
Yeah, that's right.
Something else,
He'll
man.
come back to me eventually.
Like I said last night, there's a lot of shit I don't remember anymore. You know, that's why I like to talk to the friends, because
They help us along.
yeah, right.
Well, Tito, I want to thank you so much. I know you've got to go, but yeah, what a pleasure to speak with you today. And yeah, we'd love to talk to you again sometime. Here with
Okay,
One True
thank you
Sport.
so much.
Yes, sir.
Arriba!
Arriba.